Drag along and tag along rights. These two rights are part of the control terms in a term sheet and also a VC contract, and they are especially designed to align interests between the VC and the entrepreneur. So they are part of protecting the VC deal, the VC's money, because what the business model of a VC is, and you remember that, is he puts money into your company and he wants a return. In order to get that return, he needs to exit. In order to exit, he might need to drag you to exit. That's the drag along right. And the tag along is the opposite. Let's look at that more closely. Imagine a typical scenario. A VC investor buys a certain stake in a startup, but also has to realize a return in one day. So the VC investor buys the equity, but what's the effect on his exit scenario? It depends on the founders. What happens if the founders don't want to sell because they want to build the company forever, or the valuation of the company at the time to sell is not right? Maybe the VC investor has a liquidation preference and valuation is still low, so you as an entrepreneur don't want to sell. This is a typical case which really exists, and then the VC needs, at least to some extent, drag along rights. Sometimes a potential buyer is only interested in 100% of the shares and only wants to buy if he gets 100% of the shares. But what if some of the shareholders don't want to sell? Drag along, tag along rights help eliminate these blockers or potential exit blockers. This is how they work. And it basically helps the VC investor to realize his return. So if a big corporation comes up and wants to buy 100% of the shares, shareholder, the VC, wants to sell in order to realize returns, a drag along right helps to force founders, and this is what the drag along is about. It forces founders that they also have to sell. So it gives an investor the possibility of making a trade sale even if the management doesn't want to sell. On the other hand, the tag-along rights protect minority shareholders to sell along shares with others. So the case is a little different here. If a big corporation comes up and says, I'm interested in buying founder shares, I just want to have access to technology, for example, I give the founders some money. So the founders want to sell, and if there's no tag-along, the others are not able to sell. But the tag-along rights, they tag shares to founder shares, and then all the other investors, especially the VCs who would like to have this tag-along right, they can sell along. Actually, you can also understand who needs these rights, in which situation. Imagine, and this is to some extent also institutional economics, imagine a situation with an engineer. Engineers normally want to run the company for a long time because they have this engineering focus. They love their product and they love their technology and they love to make it a perfect technology. So if you as a VC go into these companies, invest into these companies, the probability they will never exit is quite high. So you need the drag along right as a VC. You as an engineer might ask the question, is this dangerous for me because he sells, also I don't want? Actually, it's really hard to sell against the entrepreneur because the entrepreneur can always destroy trust in a sales process. However, and this is really where you have to be careful, what the VC will do, he'll exchange the entrepreneur before. So the VC normally takes the drag-along in combination with the right to exchange the entrepreneur. So if you as an entrepreneur don't want to sell, the VC will exchange you and then he will sell the company and drag you along. This is what happens. So make up your mind, your own mind. Do you want to run the company forever? or is it a restricted time frame and you can imagine also to exit the company? The other case, and this is the tag-along case, is like the typical business people, the guys who found the companies because they have a great idea, but they also want to be rich. So they really wait for the day they can be rich. And if someone comes along and buys their own shares, they don't care about the others too much. I mean, I'm simplifying that. This is not always holding true for all the business students, but these people exist. And then you need a tag-along, right? Because you want to tag shares to go along with these who want to sell. And this is basically where those two rights come into place. Normally VCs try to take them both, drag along, tag along, and normally it shouldn't be too big of a problem. And especially if you understand the business model of a VC, if you understand that he has to exit one day, it's okay to accept a drag-along right by then. Then these rights make perfect sense. Again, from a theoretical perspective, you can easily understand that. It aligns interest. The VC has its business model, and if you understand the business model, you know what his interest is, so he tries to align his interest with yours. That's why the drag-along is good for. If you have hidden intentions, because in the company presentation you tell you want to exit the company, but in the back of your mind you never want to do that, hidden intention, well, it's not going to work with the drag-along, right? So the VC prevents that moral hazard. And again, using theory really helps you understand drag-along and tag-along rights.